Welcome back to the Past My Prime YouTube channel, Dustin Prime here. And today we're looking at something that's maybe a little bit more cathartic, a little bit helpful. In some of the previous videos we've been talking about like the dredges of TikTok, you know, whether we're a certain holiday slop or people leaving their houses in states of disarray for content. And in the past we've talked about the overconsumption before and overspending on certain things, but I did find something that's actually pretty enlightening. Some people might say this is minimalism, but I wouldn't say it's exactly that. So there was a growing trend on TikTok of underconsumption, pretty much, you know, living within your means, but even a little bit less than that. You know, not overspending, not getting stuff you don't need, using thrifted furniture, thrifted clothes, making your own clothes, keeping your meals simple. And looking into the subject, it's pretty humbling, you know? I would say this was a win for the internet and TikTok. So let's get right into it.
I have a hot take. Underconsumption, more interesting. It's cooler. Let me show you. You know what's fun? Secondhand furniture like this, and this, and this, and this. Cat is technically secondhand too. You know what's cool? Reusing pasta jars. Best water vessel there is. You know what's the best decor? Plants that you've been growing for years. And then you take cuttings from your friends and then you make big plants for free. You feel like a magician. Like, this plant is probably like $100 and I got it for free. I just grew it from a single leaf. Plants are the best decor. Underconsumption, cool. You know what has better decor than Target? Thrift shops, vintage shops, Mother Earth. Thrifted, vintage, Mother Earth. Target cannot beat my $10 collection. Thrifted. Dried eucalyptus, a little flower in a jar. Got dried flowers. We got a bowl of shells. You know what's also cool? Creating things. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you catch me getting into my craft closet? Because I try to focus on creating instead of consuming all the time. Who made this stuff? I crocheted this with my own hands. We have some little seashell magnets I made. You know what's also cool? Trying hobbies. Oh, what is that? Is that my surfboard? Because I have hobbies, because I wasn't afraid to be a beginner, and I got her off of Facebook Marketplace, focusing on being, not consuming. Who do you want to be instead of what do you want to have? Just a thought. Overconsumption? Not cool. It's bland. Everyone looks the same. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Let's get this straight. I'm only asking you to stop consuming so much because I care about you. It's not making you happy, and it's also destroying the planet. So let's take a step back. Let's chill a little bit, consume less. Underconsumption. It's cooler. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that quote. Think about what you want to be and not what you want to have. That was actually pretty profound for TikTok. And what she said about the cat. This cat is technically secondhand. I wish we would have got to see him more. Everything in there, you know, secondhand, or she made it, she got it from a friend, she thrifted it. You know, she has like a whole reuse mentality. And she did mention there about, you know, under consuming to help the earth. And I think that is really important because in so many of those like overspending or those like, you know, overconsumption videos, it's just so much waste, so much product, you know, things like cosmetics, clothes, bags. I mean, electronics is a big one too. And her comments were pretty supportive, but I did see one that kind of caught me off guard and said, now I just wish that thrift stores weren't also capitalist pit holes. Charging tons of money for donated items is criminal. And yeah, while that might happen, I don't think that's a blanket statement for every type of thrift store, especially places like Goodwill. I mean, I've seen and bought tons of stuff from Goodwill that's in great condition for like dirt cheap prices. And at least the few in my area, they'll have stuff that's like still new, sealed, and have it heavily discounted. I'd probably say the most expensive things I ever see at Goodwill is like certain pairs of shoes. You know, it's like a pair of like Jordans or something that would go for maybe like $150, $160, and they have them for like $40. I definitely would not say that's a ripoff. So I really liked her approach, and yeah, her place looked awesome, and it looked like she really enjoyed her life and really loved like where she was at. And she mentioned crafting, you know, she's crocheting stuff herself. This next one, she says she's a crafter also. Looks fine. Seasoned staples, only a few shoes. Yeah, like very, very minimal products. I like those faces. That was awesome. Being able to turn like, you know, a passion, something like doing pottery, into gifts, you know, that you can make yourself for your friends or family. I would love to get like a pot like that for, you know, a plant, or the trays that you put under the vases. I mean, that's a simple, easy, great gift. And the amount of cosmetic products she had there for her skincare routine was like super minimal. And that's probably like all she really needs. And she had taken that bottle of what looked like foundation and, you know, snipped the end off it. She was getting like every drop of that product, making sure like none of it was going to waste. And some people might say that's cheap, but I mean, I think that's just being smart. And so there might be an argument that people say, well, why do you have have to live like this if you have the money, or, this isn't the lifestyle for me. And I think that could be a valid criticism, but not necessarily a good one, because I think this next creator explains it well.
Do you want to know what the key to sustaining this new underconsumption lifestyle is? As somebody who has lived an underconsumption lifestyle for years out of necessity, because we just don't have money to buy extra stuff, I have seen all over my For You page people adopting this new underconsumption lifestyle, making a choice to not shop at Target and Home Goods and buying extra stuff. And first of all, I'm very proud of you, because that can be really hard to do. But if you want to sustain that choice to live an underconsumption lifestyle, you have to be grateful for what you already have. Gratitude is the key to sustaining an underconsumption lifestyle. If you constantly are needing something new and bigger and next, you are going to fall right back into hyperconsumption and overconsumption. But if you are able to be grateful for the things you already have, it will be so much easier to say no to going to the store and buying things that you do not need. If you have a roof over your head, if you have food in your pantry, in your fridge, if you have a running vehicle and money for gas, you have everything you need. Gratitude is the key.
Definitely. Gratitude is the key. And I see that working out one of two ways. If you were a person who grew up with not a lot of money to spend, maybe your family didn't have a lot, I could see how you would easily go to one of those two routes. You would be in that route where you do kind of stay in that underconsumption mode. It's what you're used to, it's how you were raised. You're totally fine with living like that. But on the other side, I could see how someone might start to get into a situation where they could afford more, they could have more, and that would start to become their lifestyle. And that could be for a bunch of different reasons. It would be really hard to qualify exactly why, but it's one of those things where you do see a lot of people who said, I came from nothing and now I got all this. They got the fancy car, they got the big house, they got all the clothes. And so I don't think you could really generalize people to say, well, maybe they're spoiled or they're bad just because they have those things. And maybe just because they do have a lot of product doesn't necessarily mean they're one of those over consumers. But I totally agree with what she's saying. You don't necessarily need to get the next best, biggest thing. We're driving 2 used cars that are paid off, and that's all that me and my wife need. And I remember a few years ago, looking at possibly getting a new car, and then I was just like, what am I doing? I was like, I have absolutely no need for this. And I enjoyed one of the top comments that was on her video. The treat yourself culture has gone too far. I definitely agree with that, and I think that comes straight from that other category, that other trend of the overconsumption. There's so much pressure out there to say, oh, just go get it, you can treat yourself to that. You worked hard for it, so spend that money. But the question is do you really need it? Maybe you're using that shopping or that purchase to fill a void. And as we'll see, some people did say they had shopping addictions. And following this trend, it really helped them make a change. Like this next creator right here.
I haven't shopped in 10 months. June 20th to April 20th, 10 months. I'm so close to a year, I can taste it. And I'm not just gonna shop once I hit a year, just so we know. But just a reminder for people who are new here, my rules were no clothes, bags, shoes, or jewelry for a full year. I have not bought any skincare or makeup unless I completely run out and I don't have a replacement. The only makeup I've had to repurchase is mascara, which is crazy in 10 months. So I have a thing of empties. I'll do another empties video about what I've gone through, but it's been 10 months. It's been incredible. The mental freedom and clarity is so worth it. No amount of stuff will ever bring me the freedom that I feel. It reminds me I've been sober for almost 10 years, and everything drugs and alcohol promised me, recovery gave me tenfold. So I haven't shopped in 10 months. It's so close to a year, and when I hit a year, I'm gonna reevaluate, but we're almost there. 2 more months and it's been a year. If you wanna join us, join us. It's incredible.
Damn, 10 months and she hasn't bought anything. And her stipulation there was clothes, shoes, bags, jewelry, makeup, unless she was completely out of it. And then she mentioned the only thing she had to buy was mascara. So is that maybe one of the things that runs out quicker? And then she mentioned she was keeping a separate track of her empties. So then you could probably see how much progress she's made by using through all that product that she had. And she said it was a mental release, it was a freedom. And very interesting, she said she is sober too. So that kind of goes back to, was that shopping filling some sort of, stress relief or void? Was it helping her with a depression or that addiction she had, whether it was alcohol or drugs? Also, just think of the amount of money she's saving. If she really was a shopaholic, that would be a huge difference in your savings too. And it's not just her, there was a movement of people kind of posting these types of videos and this type of content where they were doing this. And like some of the others had said previously, you don't need to buy anything if you just keep what you got. Or if you're thrifting stuff, or you've just had stuff for a really long time and it still works. Pretty simple looking girl's room. Yeah, once again, not a lot of product. Simple looking jewelry. The food containers. Seriously, it's like that mirror was perfect. It still worked for what she needed it for. And her grandma got it, so why is she gonna throw it away if it's just missing that one little side? And same thing, she had said she was holding on to those like jewelry racks that her grandma had also got her, and just storing tiny little miscellaneous things like hair clips in like a food container. You know, if it's just a little plastic container and it's just gonna get shoved in a drawer, who cares what it is? I remember when I was younger, I used those little food containers, plastic containers like that for like so many things like toys, Legos, micro machines, and it was just like a, hey, it's just doing its job, it's just holding things. And her room looked really simple, didn't look like, you know, overly hyped up, just looked like a cozy room. So I think a lot of people kind of follow this trend and they don't even really realize it. They're just doing what comes naturally to them, what feels nice, you know, and holding on to things that they care about. And so what if you've held on to some stuff for a really long time, especially stuff that some people would just get rid of? 2009. Oh, Aeropostale. She bought like everything in 2009. Oh, okay, not the boots. Yeah, so holding on to clothes that are still like, you know, perfectly good, no reason to get rid of them. I mean, that's a win, especially if it's not something that you need to, you know, wear to work, where it has to be like, you know, a certain dress code or it has to actually look nice. It's like that stuff was old and it still looked nice and it still functioned. And it's funny how she said like, you know, wearing her husband's older shirts. And yeah, my wife does the same thing. There's shirts that we had back from when we were dating that she still has. And that's crazy too, to think like, you know, oh look, this is where I got it at. Like the belt, Aeropostale. You gotta think the millennials are busting out all that like Hot Topic and Hollister gear. We're still rocking the Jinkos. Now that would be impressive. And you notice one of her top comments, someone says, "You were the it girl in 2009. Yeah, maybe that's why she had all the pictures. And then someone else said, "I'd have a lot more stuff if I stayed the same size." I'm not gonna dig any deeper on that one. And that creator has more content that's very similar to this. Kind of seems to be the underconsumption creator, you know, covering different sorts of things that she didn't have to spend money on, stuff that she's always had forever. You know, she does mention like, oh, I don't shop at Target, I only shop at Aldi. Which, I mean, you know, it's still some sort of consumption, but at least it's cheaper. So I guess that's a benefit for her. And you know, it's not only females that this trend follows. There were some dudes in this trend too. And I know this previous creator I've covered before with the debt situations. And so he's doing better, and it looks like maybe he's consuming less too.
Welcome to my underconsumption core that I live as a frugal person because I refuse to live a life that looks like this. I've had the same 2 towels ever since I moved into my apartment 5 years ago. My curtains are twin-size bed sheets that I got in a bed set. I needed a shelf and I actually found this really cute one in a dumpster when I was dumpster diving. That's not a screen protector on my phone. That's the original wrapping when I got the phone 3 years ago. It's barely hanging on, but we're getting by. I don't use trash bags. I use paper bags that my friends and family get from grocery shopping that they don't need. I have a stack of junk mail and envelopes that I use for note-taking. Why waste your money buying a notepad? I've had this same water bottle that I've used for I don't even know how long at this point. I have a handful of boxes in case I sell anything that I get from my parents' house because they buy a lot of stuff online. Definitely a money saver. I've used the same bag to carry my lunch to work for like 3 years now because seriously, who cares what your coworkers think about you? No joke, I have used this same plate since college like 12 years ago. It's the only plate I have. But when I use thick advertisements that come in the mail as coasters, cut my sponges in half because why ruin a whole sponge? I only have this one cologne that was randomly gifted to me 2 years ago. Oh, you guys have like 15 colognes and perfumes, I don't get it. Then I've had this one pair of winter boots since like 2018 and they're still holding up. Okay, that's it. I ran out of time. Thanks for watching.
So like I said, that content creator has shown other things where he was in debt before, and it was showing his like journey to get out of debt. So it looks like this trend is probably actually helping him, because as he's trying to be under consuming, he's not even to spend money on other things. And yeah, I mean, if you found that awesome shelf in the dumpster, why not take it out? I would. Usually in the mornings on like trash pickup day, I kind of take like a little extra street to go down to see the rest of the neighborhood, because I always want to see if people are throwing away stuff that's going to be, you know, useful. And that was super interesting. Cut the sponge in half so you don't have to waste it. I never thought about that. That seems like a life hack. But I also saw something else where someone was saying like keep using the same sponge, you know, just keep using it because it's still good. But it's like, maybe just if it gets too nasty, get rid of it. And yeah, he was saying he likes to save all the boxes in case he sells something, and I totally do that. Man, everything I get from Amazon, I save that stuff for a while. Because I kind of go through spurts where I sell stuff on eBay, and I recycle the hell out of all that packaging from Amazon. And I even put that in my listings sometimes, like, hey, your package might look really, really bad when you get it, but I was sure to pack it super, super safe. I'm just reusing these materials. And I haven't had a single person ever complain about it. And if I receive something like that, I'd be grateful too. But I gotta knock them on the food container. Even though those reusable food containers say they're like reusable and microwave safe, no, you don't need to be reusing a plastic container. Just get yourself a nice glass one. It's okay if it has a plastic lid, and that glass one is gonna be way easier for heating stuff up. It'll be healthier for you, and it's way easier to clean. Don't reuse food containers. Recycle them, get rid of them. Get yourself like a good set, and hopefully you won't ever even have to buy more, because that glass will last you like a lifetime. And he showed his really old phone. Well, I mean, that's a big savings too. If you're not upgrading to like the next phone like every single year, you'll save so much money. My last phone that I had before my current one, which I can't even remember what model it is, it's not like an Ultra or anything crazy like that. I used that phone for I think like 7 years, and I even replaced the battery on it once. And then I burned that battery to the ground, and I used that thing forever until I pretty much like had to get rid of it. I couldn't replace the battery anymore. I don't even think I could find one when I last looked. And oddly enough, I was still able to get value on its trade-in. And I still had my previous model from like 12 years ago, and I sold it on eBay for like $50. I have no clue who bought it, but hey, they gave me good feedback and they were like, thank you so much. But hey, it didn't completely end up in a landfill. Maybe it got sourced for parts, not sure, but hey, put some extra money back in my pocket. And someone said, I think you deserve some new towels. It's a practical buy. And it's like, hey, yeah, I mean, if they have holes in them, you know, you could get some good ones at Goodwill for really, really cheap. And the commenter also says, just upcycle the old ones into dish rags. And I've done the same thing before. Take the old towels and I use them for like the garage or when I'm doing yard work. And you know, it's not just him. I knew some other guys like that too. And I think it's easier for guys to kind of be in this trend. You know, you might not be seeking like the highest fashion and stuff like this, kind of like this guy on screen here. You know, you don't have to worry about the makeup. And you know, guys kind of get a lot of flack sometimes saying like, oh, their rooms aren't even decorated, you know, they're so boring. And I think that's just how a lot of guys are sometimes. And I would think the priorities are possibly like easier for a male. And it would be a lot easier to be in this kind of underconsumption trend. I knew a buddy I worked with back in retail where we had some swag that would come in and like the vendor left us with like 20 of these shirts. It was for a certain video game and it didn't get really popular, so we had like all this swag left. And I think the shirts were all like large and like XL. And so, you know, I didn't want them. Some of the other guys didn't want them. He took them all. And if he wasn't at work or like at some sort of fancy event, he was wearing those shirts like 24/7. He never spent money on clothes. So what if you've gone like maybe overboard? Some people might think you're overboard. What if you were going like off grid or going to like the tiny house level? Is that underconsumption, or is maybe that something else? But wait, I wanted to cover a comment from the previous video about like the clean talk and the messy house phenomenon, because we had a discussion about, you know, parents kind of subjecting their children or their pets to this. So I really enjoyed this comment from Not a Real Homestead. She said, I have 4 cats and a dog, 2 kids, 2 pigs, and a bunch of chickens, and mental health issues since middle school, which gets managed. The issue here is definitely being paid for the mess, and also a complete lack of routine. The daily, weekly chores have to be done on schedule, and an extra deep cleaning gets done when there's time. Routine and a clean environment have a direct impact on mental health. I have complete sympathy for the ones that the woman who does the free cleaning's for, but the woman who does this for content is where my sympathy stops. They know it's an issue and they continue the cycle for attention and money. Meanwhile, their children and pets that depend on them are the ones that suffer. You don't let your children get wet in your storm. And I really like that quote. You don't let your children get wet in your storm. 100% agree. And you could replace children with pets or family members or any other dependents that are in that situation with you. So thanks for the comment, Not a Real Homestead. So like this video if you're liking it, subscribe so you can stay informed, and then drop me a comment below and I might feature it in one of my next videos. Are you in this underconsumption trend, or do you know anybody who is? Are they sticking to it? Do you think it's had a positive impact on them? Let me know. Now, back to the video. So yeah, off-grid living might be the ultimate underconsumption. Solar power. Generator. Ooh, no running water would be rough. So would a composting toilet. Reusing the boxes. It's perfect. Thrifting and making stuff. Yeah. You only need one car. Pretty nice tiny home. So this is that distinction between like underconsumption and minimalism. I would say a tiny home is more underconsumption, not minimalism. Because I mean, they still had everything they need. They had furniture, they had a car, they had like, you know, a decent amount of clothes. Looks like they had some stuff in storage. And I'm pretty sure, because I think I've looked at that exact model shed. That's one of those sheds you can get for like, you know, anywhere from $12,000 to like $15,000 from places like Home Depot or Lowe's. You can probably find them from other manufacturers like directly, and they'll like deliver the whole kit to you. And sometimes they can even include the assembly, and you know, they can have it done in like a day, like 12 hours. Bring that thing out to the property, get it set up, and bang, you got a tiny home. You have to do some finishing and like, you know, some work on the inside, but for the most part, it's done. There is an issue though, because sometimes in different states, different areas, there's stipulations on if you can have those, dependent upon the amount of land that it's on. Sometimes it has to have like a poured foundation. It looked like theirs were kind of sitting on like bricks. And as long as they followed like their zoning and laws and regulations, I mean, boom, they got a home. They might only be paying their property taxes and that's it. But I don't know, not having running water would be a pretty big change for me. I don't know if I could do that. And I mean, in there, it looked pretty nice. And you know, a lot of times people will post in this category of underconsumption, like older looking homes that just are like filled with like thrifted out furniture, like here on the screen. I mean, it kind of just looks like what I remember my grandparents' house looking like. And I don't see any problem with that. I mean, it looks cozy enough. It looks like it has everything they need. They got bedroom furniture. They have a living room. And sure, the fixtures and the cabinets might not be like the most up-to-date that you'd see in like a house that someone just flipped. But it's like, who cares? If it's your house and you're the homeowner, as long as it works for you, what does it matter? And a lot of times too, older furniture and older fixtures and stuff like that will have a much better quality of some of the stuff that you can get nowadays. And it's no lie that a lot of stuff in the past just had better craftsmanship in it too. And when it was originally installed, it also had a lot more care and quality put behind it. And that's a whole nother trend you can see, where how bad quality in like new homes and like renovations has got. In some cases, it's not even safe, but that's a video for another day. And so another thing is like this is like, you know, going into places like Target or, you know, Five Below, Hobby Lobby. There's so much of that extra stuff that you can just like get to just put in your house, put in your kitchen. And a lot of people might say that it's junk, but I wouldn't necessarily agree that it's junk. I think a lot of times people just overbuy, they have too much of it, and maybe they're just buying it to fill a space, or they're buying it for seasons or something like that. And then they just don't even realize that they have all this stuff and it's just so much extra that they don't need. And it's not to say you can't get decorations and stuff like that for your house. It's just like, you know, maybe have some control and really think like, do you need it, or is it gonna end up as junk for you? In this next one here, she does say that she is a 6-figure earner, but she's in the underconsumption core. And you know, I don't know what directly that has to do with the two. It's like you can make good money and still be in the underconsumption. Reusable paper towels and grocery bags. Yeah, comes at a price for someone. Yeah, saving money. Yeah, budgeting. So she was saying she only buys what she needs, you know, she does the reusable paper towels, reusable bags, and yeah, I mean, great way to not consume stuff and save money. But I didn't agree with what she said there about buying directly from the brand's website and that it's possibly cheaper. That is usually never the case that I find. So yeah, hopefully she's using any of that money that she's saving and, you know, putting it away towards retirement, investments, and still getting to live a little also. Looked like she did a lot of stuff outdoors too, which, man, there's so much free stuff to do outdoors. So I don't think the salary has anything to do with it. If you can do it on a $50K salary, you could do it on like a 6-figure salary. salary. It's all just based on the choices you make. So yeah, this is a TikTok trend that I actually agree with for once. Definitely helps with the issue of too much product being out there. You know, there is some detriment to the planet for that. You know, keeps this stuff out of landfills, keeps it from going into the ocean, especially stuff like cosmetics. And if you have stuff like furniture that you don't need and you donated it and someone else was able to use it, put it in their house, I mean, that's a big win. And I also think that this is helping a lot of people with their mental health too. As we showed, you know, people were dealing with addiction and this was helping them kind of break the cycle. It was getting them off like shopping just for so much stuff that they were trying to like fill a spot with. Stuff that they really didn't need. So hey, I hope this trend continues. I think it's a good one. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed the content we covered today, be sure to leave a like and subscribe so we can hang out again. Plus, leave a comment below and I might feature it in one of my next videos. And it really helps small channels, so I'd totally appreciate it. And YouTube thinks you'll like this video right here, so give it a watch if you have a second. Until then, I've been Dustin Prime, you've been you, and people, remember, are you buying too much? Did you really need that stuff that you just bought? Would underconsumption lifestyle work for you? Maybe it could help you break your habits and save some money. Think about it. Later.